Good morning, everybody. Welcome. We're going to wait a little for the sunrise, I think. Look at all that cloud. Probably mostly haze. But we'll keep our eyes open because there could be a surprise or two along the way. You know, sometimes there's a little opening in the cloud that I can't see now. And then there is the sun peeping out at us. Now, if you look over here, you see these boats. And I would consider those, without being any expert on boats, just watching, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boats right now for me in view. And they're kind of all the same kind of style. You know? More or less the same size, same format. But sometimes there are boats here, especially on the weekends, and they're parked in here in the marina, in the dry dock marina just north of us. And they look like houses. This looks like a little sports car, you know. And they look like houses. They look like they're 2 floors. There's a dock. You could probably sleep down below the floor level. And they're elegant and they're powerful. These guys can make a lot of noise as well. 24/7 sometimes. So, you know, that's interesting, isn't it? And I could talk more about it in a few moments. I just forgot one little detail here. Sometime I must bring you back through the garden, but I have another thought for today. So we're going to go and see the archaeology. I just forgot one technical detail. I'm picking it up here from the house. Just wait for me there. Or come on in. What did I do with this? Oh, there we are. There we are. There we are. So we're all set now. So I'm going to take you for a little stroll right here on the land, on this property. We have a lot of people. Yiska Harani is back with a group of guides doing a 3-day seminar. There was a room full last night. It was wonderful. I didn't show you this palm tree here before. Look at the amount of bounty. Those are all little dates. You know, I told you before I want to invite you to a date in Magdala. That's the one over there, but look at this one up here. Not sure if the light's good enough for us to see it well. Look at all those dates. They're all dates. Is your mouth watering? They're all dates, people. Look at that. And they're yummy, yummy, yummy. But they're not ripe yet. But not far away. Maybe I can give you a date this morning. Let's see. I know where they are, some of them, but I haven't been over there. Isn't that amazing? That bounty just on one tree. And if you don't believe me there's one tree, I'm going to bring in the camera here so you can see better. There you are. It's just fascinating to wonder, to be filled with wonder and amazement. We have so many marvelous things, and sometimes we lose the sense of wonder. Well, I'm going to go this way, I think, and we'll come back on the other side of Dukanalton to the water if the sun is coming up a bit closer. So we were through here yesterday, but I'm not going straight up there. I want to go to the archaeology. And I want to go for a special reason. Maybe some of you have a boat like the boats we saw. Maybe some of you have a bigger boat like the boats we kind of imagined and talked about. And maybe some of you don't have any boat. And it doesn't matter. What matters is what you're thinking and feeling when we're talking about the boats. What you're thinking and feeling when we're talking about the boats. This olive tree is a bit like a weeping willow. All the branches are down, bending down, like unshoveled hair. Oh, you see, these are ripe dates now, much riper. Let's get some more light on them there in a moment. So all along here they're riper. It must be a different variety. See, this is a different type of olive tree. The branches aren't drooping as much. Look at how the olives are growing. They're getting bigger. Just put my finger in here so you can see. Some of the dates were harvested here already. You can see the volume has gone down. Well, actually, you know, we don't need to see all the archaeology. This bit over here will do. So they tell us we had a bakery over here. This is the archaeology speaking, the archaeologist interpreting, because there's a room where there was grain, and there's a room where there are where they were like sorting the grain, another one where they were milling it, another one where they were cooking, baking. So, and there was 2 floors here, they tell us. So there was a floor above it. And which floor did you have? Which room did you have? And was it bigger than the other floor? And did you have more rooms? Oh, we should go to the shopping area maybe as well. Now that I'm here, I'm going to do something else. This is the drain where the water flows from the ritual baths to the lake. Right now it's not being pumped, so it's not 24/7 right now. Much of the time it is. Yeah, this is the volunteers' lunch area. It's kind of a bit, you know, it's not being used anymore. This is where we had it for many years. So I'm going to take you in. I don't know what condition it's in, okay? So it's kind of embarrassing. Otherwise I have to disconnect everything. Wow, it's very embarrassing. Maybe we won't look at the floor. It's a mess with the wind. What happens when things aren't being used anymore? It's amazing. So we have these fridges still here. Maybe some of you were here as volunteers and you'll remember. And I'm just checking into the fridges. Okay, there's nothing there. That fridge was always just used for storage. Let me see here. Nothing here. Nothing here. Wow, I thought there were dates over here. Yes, you see? We're looking into the fridge. There are dates here. So these are dates. I never eat this area anymore, but I'm going to have one in your honor, just so you can tell how yummy it is. Mmm. 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 I have to have a second one. Oh, wow. Oops. Oh, wow. Frozen dates. Amazing. 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 This is This was amazing when when it was 40 degrees to be having lunch in here under this tin roof. This is amazing. These dates are incredible. I wonder when they'll invent a Wi-Fi to send dates. You need to have a date. You need to have one of our dates. They are so sweet, so natural, so healthy. You know, they say that a Bedouin could live on 2 dates a day by eating 2 dates for nourishment, integral nourishment. I've never did the laboratory experiment, but that's what they say. And I just had 3, so I had a Bedouin and a half survival menu today. So we saw the archaeology, and if we went down further here, we'd see the most beautiful archaeology and the most well-built homes with cut stone. Well, why don't we do it? Because the sun is still hiding. So let's go over here and see how solid this house is. And it has unique mosaics. Imagine that the mosaic we found in the synagogue, the Rosette mosaic, is the 3rd of its kind in the country. And the first one is in Masada, in Herod's Western Palace. Most beautiful, more beautiful than ours, because one guide said to me once when I asked a question, well, he said Herod's pockets were deeper. Most beautiful mosaic. And the second one is in the high priestly houses in Jerusalem that has been found in archaeology. There are probably more, but those are the ones that are being discovered in archaeology. And the third one is over there in our synagogue, under that wooden roof. Let me stop for a second. So if some of you are new and you haven't seen it, oops, what happened? And I didn't touch that button, so there's some little trick to get it to do a selfie by. So over under the big wooden roof there, where you see the screen down in the middle of the screen, that's blocking the sun from the frescoes. There's the 1st century synagogue, and there's a mosaic just like this one here. And this one has a different pattern. This one has, you notice, first of all, you notice the infinity design all around the rectangle on all sides, and then in the center you see the rosette, and it's a different arrangement than the one in the synagogue. Here it's alternating black section or dark section and clear sections, and there are 4 and 4, and then there's a reddish circle around that, and then there's a diamond containing that, and then there's a red rectangle containing it all, and then it's all within the famous Greek pattern or unending pattern that originally came from India. So now this was a pretty neat house that had this kind of mosaic. Now if you look over here, look at the floor. Look at that floor, people. Look at the way that's built, all those cut stones. There's a little bit of repair there. The clear stuff was done for conservation purposes. And there's a drain coming out right over there. A big drain. Where is it? Oh, there we are. Under those ashlars, those cut stones. And there's another one actually inside the path that you can also see there. That's another drain that's along the pathway. Okay, and then we have the ritual baths in there. And we could even go down and see the ritual baths, because they're a sign of, they're evidence of very extraordinary construction. So much so that Ronnie Reich, the Israeli expert in this issue, says that these are the best built ritual baths ever discovered so far in the country. They're also the best conserved, probably because they were well built, and also because they were under earth in times of earthquakes, and that provided a cushion. So here's the one drain I was talking to you about along this street, and there's another drain along here. And then you have this incredible floor. And now you have the ritual bath. Look at those steps, the way they're built. And there's another one over here. This was number 2. And there's number 4 behind it. And the one we saw first was number 3. And number 1 was over here, the first one we found. Look at the way these rooms are built. And this stairs was intact when we found it. Normally stairways, and especially arches, collapse. Precisely because they were under the earth and the earthquakes didn't knock them out. So then here's the other one. And the archaeologists say this is the best built ritual baths in the country. Best conserved and best water supply. The water comes straight out of Mount Arbel, not from the lake. So it's the purest water. Not sure if it's spring water or I don't know what that would be, a big reservoir in the mountains and the hills coming, well, let's say, down from Nazareth and other high areas that lie higher than here. So now you saw all of this. So you saw those rooms with the very good floors, and you saw all the like rooms with more normal floors, like here. That's just a crate there for archaeological purpose. But you see, there's nothing special about that floor compared to the one over there. Okay? So why am I saying all this stuff? One last thing, we're just going to take a look at where the shops are. We won't do them in too much detail, because some of you like shopping. But these shops have been closed for about 2,000 years, probably since the year 67. So in another 47 years we could celebrate, or not celebrate, but remember the 2000th anniversary of the closing of all these shops. And you see, the floors are very different than the big strong floors we saw a moment ago. But many of these places have their own living water, like fresh water coming in. The archaeologists are fascinated at how the management of water here in Magdala, in the houses and in the ritual baths and so forth. By the way, for those of you who are familiar with Magdala, we're building a new visitor center here. We had to move it in from the road to comply with regulations, because they were just containers placed there. First of all, there was 1, so that's very temporary structure, and then there were 2, and then there were 3. And so the authorities asked us to move it in, so we're amplifying this space here, and we're going to have the visitor center here, which will still be a provisional one until we build a big one by God's grace. We're praying and thinking about how a new visitor center has to be, and it will be over there in that parking lot eventually, with God's grace and a good time. So now, oh, the sun is up. Wow, how did I miss that? I think it's the sun, but it couldn't be that high. Maybe it's not the sun. Let's check it out. You see over the tree there, that red? That might be the sun, but it might not be. So let's head down there and check it out. But first of all, I want you to have one of the thoughts from here before we go far. So Paul is talking in Corinthians chapter 7, first letter. Brothers and sisters, in regard to virgins, I have no commandment from the Lord. So the community in Jerusalem didn't teach him anything specific, and he had no specific instruction directly. And he said, but I give my opinion as one who by the Lord's mercy is trustworthy. So this is what I think best because of the present distress. That means the troubles of the world. And sure enough, there's enough troubles around today in the year 2020. So this is what I think best because of the present distress, that it is a good thing for a person to remain as he is. Are you bound to a wife? Do not seek a separation. Are you free of a wife? Then do not look for a wife. If you marry, however, you do not sin. Nor does an unmarried woman sin if she marries. But such people will experience affliction in their earthly life. Because it's not easy to live with another person. I'm sure everybody knows that. But it's also not good to be alone. So you're kind of between a rock and a hard place if you look at it from that angle. So he says, you will experience affliction in their, they will experience affliction in their earthly life, and I would like to spare you that. So he loves those people. He looks for their good. I tell you, brothers, the time is running out. So this is a very interesting principle. The time is running out. From now on, let those having wives act as not having them, those weeping as not weeping, those rejoicing as not rejoicing, those buying in the shops as not buying. So when you're buying, you buy what you need, but he says, those weeping as not weeping. I recommend that. That those rejoicing as if they weren't rejoicing. Those buying as not owning. And those using the world as not using it fully. For the world in its present form is passing away. And isn't that our big lesson from archaeology? The world is passing away. You know, we saw those beautiful mosaics, but they're kind of damaged. And you should see the joy on an archaeologist's face, and especially a volunteer's face when they're here working in the archaeology and they find a little mosaic stone. And then they find a second one 2 inches away, and then a third one. And then they're so happy, and the archaeologist comes over and says, there must be a mosaic here, be careful, extra care in the archaeology and the digging. So the world as we know it is passing away, and the archaeology teaches us this. Who had that nice mosaic floor room? Who got to use it? Who boasted about it when they had built it? You know, using it fully, not using it fully. That's an interesting expression. Don't use it fully. So what does that mean? Do you use your car fully? It's an interesting expression. That's worth pondering. I think there we see a little bit of the sun peeping over the palm tree there. But we're going to go over to check it out, okay? As there might be a lot of red light in a diffused area. Look at all our wonderful donors who've been so generous, and it's amazing how many of our donors already in the last 10 years have passed on to the Lord. Maybe 16 years, that's even a better chance to be passing on to the Lord. And obviously when people donate, some of them are a little older, and that gentleman died at the age of 99. And he did so much good for so many people. Don Antonino Fernandez. Extraordinary. Extraordinary. And actually they're all going to pass on. You know? That's interesting. We're all going to pass on. To use this world as though we weren't rejoicing over it. And if we're weeping, that we're not weeping. We got bad sciatic. We got bad this, bad that. We don't lose our head over it. Got a bad political situation. We do our part, but this is not definitive. This too will pass. This shirt I bought, it's such a nice shirt, you know, it's very good for the sun rays. And we got 2 for the price of 1 last Sunday on the way to the beach. And got 2 sun hats for the price of 1. You know, things are being sold off at this time of the year for sun and summer. And how much do you rejoice over these things? Of course you're happy. You can share with somebody else the extra one. So here we have a bustling port. Flavius Josephus speaks about 240 boats. But the time passed. There was a revolution. The town got decimated. People were sold into slavery. Use this world as it's passing. And use it well, but don't use it to stuff your happiness. The psalm today says, "Listen, O daughter, give ear to my words." I think there are many daughters here. A lot of ladies are participating in this chat. Listen, O daughter, give ear to my words. You know, that tree is centuries old. How many headaches had people who saw it when it was a little plant? And even today somebody might have a bad sciatic nerve or bad headache or a bit of tension in the family This too will pass. The olive tree is going to hang out for a while more, maybe. But our situations will pass. Our properties will pass. Our houses will crumble. We pray they won't crumble today with an earthquake. They won't be washed away with a hurricane, with a typhoon, as many people have that concern. Actually, one person mentioned about flooding in a note there in one of the posts yesterday or the day before. Yeah, that was the sun that we saw from back there that was red. It's pretty clear now that that was the sun from its height in the sky and from its position and from the intensity of the light there. It's clearly the sun. You know, there's great serenity here, and that's not the case when the house is on fire. That's not the case when there's an earthquake, and there have been earthquakes in the Holy Land. This is a volcanic region, a very unstable region in the sense of not just politically but also geologically. It's a rift valley, the Rift African Valley, the deepest valley on earth. Now the sun is coming out a little stronger there and giving us that path of light. We still have quite a bit of cloud, so we'll have more art. And the gospel reading is actually completely in sync with this Corinthians reading, which is understandable because what Jesus taught became the understanding of the disciples and their mindset. And the words are very strong. Maybe I'll just advance one or two of them right now. And if we apply the word from the psalm, then we listen with great care. Listen to me, daughter, see and bend your ear. Faith comes through the ear. That's why it's important to read the scriptures out loud as well. Faith comes through the ear. So the gospel, we're in Luke chapter 6, and we're in the Beatitudes, which also have the opposite side of the coin, which are the sadnesses and the woes in Luke's version of the Beatitudes. And Jesus raised his eyes towards his disciples, so they're up there on the hillside, and he said, "Blessed are you who are poor. You can't buy the bigger boat. You can't have the mosaicked house. You don't have the rock-built floor. You just have a packed mud floor. Blessed are you who are poor, for the kingdom of God is yours. Blessed are you who are now hungry, for you will be satisfied. Blessed are you who are now weeping, for you will laugh." You know, this too will pass. This too will pass. So when Paul says, don't over-rejoice, don't lose your head over situations that are passing. You know, you see a little child bawling their eyes out because one little thing went wrong. They can't put the two pieces of Lego together. And Dad comes over with a big smile and does it slowly, so they're watching, and the child is happy again. And the child was in turmoil, like worse than a storm on the Sea of Galilee. And Dad was in his heart knows there's absolutely no problem. In 10 seconds those tears will dry up and there'll be a smile on this child's face. And that's why Jesus was asleep in the boat. There's a boat moving over there actually. Did you see it? Well, they're not fishermen there, got their loudspeakers on. Can you imagine that? At 10 to 7 in the morning, they're out there with their loudspeakers, and they didn't come out now, okay? They've been out for a while watching the moon rise. It's a revelry boat. You can see him moving along there. revelry. You know, the revelry is an interesting thing in this context as well. This too will pass. This too will pass. The measure in our lives, prudence, wisdom, understanding, to be able to give counsel, all these are connected. And you are blessed. Each one of us is blessed with a gift of faith, with a gift of family, a gift of trust, a gift of hope, a gift of love. And even faith and hope are going to pass. Can you imagine? The only thing that will remain is love. What we have done for others, to dry their tears, to celebrate with them in their joys without losing our heads. That's why drunkenness is such an incredible blunder, because it's losing your head. There's a moment to celebrate, but not that way. And it's funny how people think that is entertainment. And there's different forms then of that mental arousing and sedation. It's not just alcohol anymore. Lots of things are smoked and ingested. There we got two people out there, or two little canoes. I don't know if you can see them. Let me focus a little for you. Zoom in. You see them now in the center of the screen. They're heading south across the sunlight. Hey, you know, I think I've gone way over time. I need to go. Instagram is waiting for me, people. They're calling. So I know you want to share with the Instagrammers. God bless you. Thank you for being with us today. Yesterday we were a few minutes short, so today we made up for it. God bless you. See you later, alligators.